Option Panel is a technology platform built for options traders. And on our website, we lay out our ambition plainly, to be the future of options trading. This video is the story of how and why this project came about. And it starts with a frustration you might share too. Hi, I'm Fernando Beltrán, founder of Option Panel, and welcome to our channel. Option Panel started with a frustration. When I began trading options myself, I couldn't find a single place that covered everything I needed. So I ended up juggling several disconnected tools and spreadsheets just to keep track of my own trades, until I decided to build the tool I was missing. Only if, after hearing what I'm about to tell you, you recognize some of the frustrations that led to the creation of Option Panel and you feel the platform could bring you value, I invite you to take advantage of it and sign up at no cost. At the time of recording this video, in July 2026, you can join as a tester, a beta tester, since Option Panel is currently in an active beta phase and will remain completely and unlimitedly free for as long as the beta lasts. On top of that, users who contribute feedback during this phase can earn a lifetime discount of up to 50% on future subscriptions. You'll find the details on the requirements for these discounts in this section of the website. If you're watching this later and the beta phase has already wrapped up, don't worry, you'll still be able to try Option Panel completely free for 15 days. Something else worth mentioning. We're a small, close-knit team, and that makes us far more accessible and adaptable than a typical trading platform company. That's why every registered user gets access to a feature request tool, so you can help shape the platform around your own particular needs as a trader. Before we get into it, let me remind you that all the content on this channel in general, and this video in particular, is not investment advice or a financial advisory service of any kind. Its purpose is purely educational. And now let's get into it. In my view, there are 5 basic pillars any platform needs in order to support serious, rigorous options trading. Though really, they all come down to one: having every tool you need for your trading in a single place, without having to juggle multiple spreadsheets or pay for additional subscriptions to complementary services. When I first got started trading options, I couldn't find a tool that met that need, so I started building one. Initially, just for my own use. Over time, as it took shape, I figured there were probably other people out there with the same frustrations and operational needs as me, and that I could share the platform with them. And that's how the Option Panel project was born. Now, let's look at how the platform addresses each of those pillars of rigorous trading I just mentioned. Since my trading isn't limited to buying or selling single options, the first thing I need is to be able to build more complex positions comfortably. I want to see the live option chain, be able to put together a spread, an iron condor, whatever it may be, visually without having to enter each leg by hand one at a time. The smoother that process is, the less mental friction I have. In Option Panel, the process starts in the My Trades section. From there, we click Add Trade to create one, choosing the underlying asset we want to trade, SPY for example. Once the trade is created, we go into its detail view. I'll use a covered call as my example trade, so it involves not just options but stock as well. First, I add the shares by clicking this button, 100 shares specifically. Now I open the option chain, select the expiration I want from the ones available, and the strike, in this case an at-the-money strike, and add a short call simply by clicking the S for sell. A few small details that, to my mind, make this a lot easier. On the right side of the screen, I can watch the risk graph update in real time as I build the trade. You can drag the selected options with your mouse pointer to conveniently change the strike, the expiration, or both, while still seeing the effect of those changes on the risk graph in real time. Notice that both the trade itself and the positions that make it up are in draft status, meaning they aren't real yet, because no order has been placed for them. It's a small design detail, but in practice, it lets you build and compare alternatives without placing a single real order. Once I've got the setup I want, I click the trade button, which opens the order ticket. There, I set the number of lots, the order type, and the price, and place the order. The positions then move from draft to open, becoming a permanent part of the trade. Does this feel familiar? Buying and selling a series of different options that, to you, are all part of one combined trade, but not knowing whether you're actually up or down on the position. On the broker's platform, you get a list of separate orders and transactions that really tell you nothing about the actual result of the trade you had put together. And what about the positions you already closed? They've vanished, and that's usually the point where you start building parallel spreadsheets just to keep track of your trades. That, to me, is the second pillar of a good platform. It has to let you group all those transactions together and show them for what they really are. A single trade with a consolidated result. In Option Panel, each trade is a container where the user can group together every leg of a position with its consolidated result, its aggregated Greeks, and its full history of orders and fills. Inside the trade, in the detail view, you have the Positions panel showing each leg of the trade individually, plus 4 summary cards at the top. Description showing the status and the recognized strategy type, dates with days in trade and days to expiration, results with total, realized and unrealized profit and loss, and potential with max profit, max risk, and estimated probability of profit. All of it calculated automatically from the positions that make up the trade. What I think deserves special mention is the fact that trades retain full visibility into the results of positions that have already been closed. On a lot of platforms, once a position is closed, it and its result disappears from view, so you lose any real traceability when calculating the historical result of the whole trade. The risk graph is also built from the aggregation of every position that is or has been part of the trade. But given how important it is, I'll cover it separately later on. Being able to see the trade as a single whole, instead of a list of disconnected fills, or worse, fills grouped by some arbitrary criterion you can't define yourself, is essential if you actually want to know how you're doing. Opening a trade is just the beginning. After that, you have to manage it throughout its life. I need tools that let me close positions or make adjustments in a simple, intuitive way, minimizing the chance of fat finger mistakes. That matters even more if you're trading short-dated expirations, where a trader often has very little time to react. In the detailed view of an open trade, the Positions panel has 2 main buttons for management: Close and Trade. If you don't select any specific position, the actions triggered by these buttons apply to all active positions, which is why they read All. If, on the other hand, I select a specific position, the button label switches to Selected, because the action will only apply to that chosen position. The Trade button opens an order ticket to increase the size of positions already open, buying or selling in the same direction as the original position. The Close button automatically generates the opposite positions to the ones you hold, meaning if you sold a put, Close proposes buying back that same put, so you can close the trade in a single step. Being able to handle these situations in barely more than a click is, without a doubt, real added value. The next pillar is the set of tools for analyzing the risk of a trade. Trading options without visualizing the actual risk is like flying a plane blindfolded. It's not enough to know the price of each contract. I need to see the profit and loss curve for the whole trade, how it will change over time, how it reacts to changes in volatility, the aggregated Greeks for the whole position, and be able to simulate the effect of an adjustment before I actually make the decision. Earlier, when I talked about how important it is to be able to group transactions together as part of a single trade, I left the risk graph for later. In the detailed view of each trade, the panel on the right shows the risk graph. The main curve shows the theoretical value of the trade based on the underlying price right now. The second curve shows what that same trade would look like at expiration. Hovering over any point on the graph gives you the exact profit or loss at that price level, along with all the Greeks for the position as a whole: delta, gamma, theta, vega, and rho. From the graph itself, we can simulate the passage of time by moving the date forward to see how the curve evolves as theta works on the position. We can also change the assumed level of implied volatility and see how it affects the trade's valuation. You can switch from the chart view to a table view, which shows profit and loss figures along with detailed Greek tables, and you can also switch to a view of the underlying price chart without ever leaving the app. On top of that, on a trade that's already open, you can simulate changes to its composition to anticipate the effect of any adjustment before actually executing it. For example, what would happen if I added a protective put to my covered call to turn it into a caller? I simply go to the option chain and add it in. If I'm not fully happy with the result, I can keep adjusting it while watching on the side panel how the effect of adding that position shows up in a consolidated way, both in the Greeks and in the graph itself. Besides adding new simulated positions, you can also simulate an order. For instance, let's say I simulate doubling the position. I click the trade button, as if I were really going to do it, but in the order ticket, instead of sending it, I click simulate, and that generates the corresponding positions in draft status. On the right, we see the effect on the graph, the Greeks, and the boundaries of the trade. In the end, adding all these draft status positions lets me do a kind of risk assessment based on whatever change I'm considering applying to the trade. Once I'm clear on what I want to do, I can either delete those draft positions if I'm no longer interested in them, send them for real if I'm confident in them, or simply hide them to pick the analysis back up later. For me, having these tools available is essential for making informed decisions. Just as important is being able to keep a record of everything you do, not just to know how much you've made or lost, but to identify which strategies work, under what market conditions, at what volatility levels, with what kind of management. Without that historical data, there's no way to systematically improve. So I need to be able to save that record, calculate the ratios that actually matter, and document my own reasoning behind each trade. In Option Panel specifically, the My Trades section acts as a complete record of your entire trading activity. Closed trades are archived with their full history of positions, orders, and fills, along with the final consolidated result. You can filter by account, portfolio, status, or strategy to analyze specific segments of your trading. The dashboard shows the main performance indicators at the individual account level or aggregated, as well as at the portfolio or strategy level, along with their ratios. On top of that, to round out the qualitative side of record keeping, there's the trading journal, which lets you add dated, time-stamped entries to document your reasoning at the time you opened the trade, the adjustments made throughout its life, and your assessment after closing it. Over time, that journal becomes an incredibly valuable source of information for reviewing your own decision-making process. There's one last thing that used to frustrate me, and it was another one of the reasons behind the Option Panel project. Personally, I used to combine trading across accounts with several different brokers, and with some of them I even had more than one demo and live account. Honestly, it was a hassle having to switch between different accounts. Sometimes that meant logging out of one session just to log into another. On top of the headache and risk of error involved in keeping my scattered records up to date. Option Panel's solution to this is to be a multi-broker platform. You can link it via API to multiple accounts across integrated brokers so that all the information syncs automatically in both directions. That way, you can operate different accounts from one place through a single interface. That said, you can also use Option Panel as a standalone tool without needing to connect a broker account at all, whether because you don't want to or because your broker isn't yet integrated. In that case, you can trade using the app's native paper account. It works exactly like a broker account, except transactions are simulated and never sent to the market. With it, you can create or manage simulated trades using real-time market prices, which makes it useful both for practicing and for analyzing strategies without putting real capital at risk. Or you can manually replicate real trades you've made in your broker account. Finally, I'd like to walk you through some of the key features on the app's roadmap. In the near term, we're integrating new brokers whose accounts you'll be able to link to Option Panel. The goal is to integrate with all the major options brokers on the market. On another front, though I can't share much just yet, we're of course working on integrating artificial intelligence to help users with their trading. But all of that will be the subject of future videos when the time comes. And that roadmap isn't set in stone. If there's something specific missing for your own trading, that's exactly what the feature request tool is for. Use it to tell us what you need and help us personalize Option Panel around it. If this video was useful to you, a like helps more than you'd think. And sharing it with another trader who might find it interesting is always appreciated. If you don't want to miss future videos, subscribing is the easiest way to stay in the loop. If any of this sounds like something you'd want to try for yourself, you'll find the link to sign up in the description below. Alright, that's it for today. See you in the next video. Take care.